We do not accept the sham referendum and any kind of annexation in Ukraine. And we're determined to make the Kremlin pay for this further escalation. So today, we're together proposing a new package of biting sanctions against Russia. By that, we isolate and hit Russia's economy even more. So we propose sweeping new import bans on Russian products. This will keep Russian products out of the European market.
Well, listening to that was our Brussels correspondent, Dave Keating. He joins me now. Dave, how significant are these sanctions being proposed today?
Well, a lot of them were expected. They were kind of the next round of sanctions, which is a continual process. But we did have a couple surprises today. This is being framed as being in response to those referenda which were organized in the occupied territories, which the EU says were illegal. These have been a long time in coming, though we do have the implementation of the agreement to cap oil prices for Russian oil for third countries. We do have an extension of the targeted sanctions list to 1,300 additional people and entities, and we have an expansion of the list of products that are banned for export from Russia to the EU. That's a pretty significant expansion of those items. One person described it to me as, at this point, basically everything. There's also an expansion of the list of items that can be exported from the EU to Russia, particularly technical products which could be used in the war effort. But two of the really significant things here is that Josep Borrell, the EU's foreign affairs chief, said that the EU is now going to be expanding sanctions to people who are spreading misinformation about the war or people who are donating money to those occupied areas in Ukraine. And also significantly, they will be expanding EU sanctions against third country nationals or entity who are helping Russia evade the sanctions. So that could be a Turkish business person who is buying EU products in the EU and then selling them in Russia. Von der Leyen issued that as a kind of a specific example without specifically naming Turkey. But that person would be subject to EU sanctions. So that will be very much of interest to a lot of these countries around Russia that they are accused of helping Russia evade these sanctions by acting as a third party. Now, those are just statements of intent, but that will be very interesting to see if it comes up in the 9th round of sanctions, which should be coming depending on how things develop in a matter of weeks. But of course, all of this was done in the context of that news about the purposeful sabotage of the Nord Stream pipelines under the Baltic Sea that very much hung over this announcement of the expanded sanctions, which was long planned and now suddenly finds itself in a very new context.
Dave Keating in Brussels, thanks very much indeed.